So the next skill we need to talk about is seasoning and flavor mastery. And what I mean by this one is that kind of when we're first starting off grilling, seasoning is, hey, let me just sprinkle on a bunch of this stuff, get an all-purpose rub, get a seasoning out the store that people talk about. Let me just sprinkle this on, rub it on, cross my fingers and hope for the best and just let it take care of itself. That's when you're early on in developing your skills. But over time, you'll get to a point that you're more intentional about your seasoning. Like where I am right now in my game is that I will pair my seasoning to a specific technique that I'm using, right? If I want to grill chicken direct, there are some seasonings that I don't want to use maybe for that session. Or if I use them, I'm going to apply them later on in the cook because they don't hold up well to high heat. Does that make sense? But I'm able to do that now because my depth of knowledge has grown in this area, right? If I'm going direct heat, I'm not loading this up with a bunch of sugar. If I'm going direct heat, I'm not putting a bunch of herbs and all that stuff over direct heat because I know it's going to burn. I can still use it, but I need to use it later on in the cook so I don't burn these seasonings and get bitter taste. Does that make sense? Also here, one of my biggest breakthroughs when it came to this skill area is understanding the power of salt and, brining, dry brining, wet brining, and how you really have to give salt time to work. And when I started to give salt its time to work, and I wasn't trying to put on these other seasonings that kind of worked against the salt being able to penetrate into the meat, my depth of flavor of my food improved significantly. So my point is, as we go through these areas, sometimes it's just small adjustments that can take the flavor of your food from average to good to great. So as you work on seasoning and flavor, I encourage you to be more intentional, to think more about what you're applying to your food, to think more about how does this impact the flavor that you're after? How does this seasoning complement the technique and the wood that you're using, right? If you're using lump charcoal, briquettes, if you're using hickory wood, apple, try to pair the seasoning up to go with that so that you have seasonings that complement what it is you're doing, work in harmony with the flavor profile you're trying to achieve and not go against it.